Hello, it's Oliver here. Again, we're going to look at a two-game series. This time we're going to look at Gonzaga and St. Mary's, who are the two best teams in the West Coast Conference. They've played two times already this season. In the first game, St. Mary's went up to Gonzaga and in a really tight game, back and forth, just pipped them at the end. And in the second game, Gonzaga went down to St. Mary's and then just kind of blew them out in the first quarter. After the first 10 minutes, they were winning 24-8. And I kind of just cruised from there. So you kind of got to analyze both games a little bit differently, and we will look at both games a little bit differently, just because the how they proceeded was so different. But they were both really good games and really interesting. So according to KenPom, you would think there's a bit of a mismatch. Gonzaga have the 12th rated offense, and St. Mary's have the 103rd ranked defense. So you'd assume that's a big mismatch, and though in the first game Gonzaga did score a lot of points, St. Mary's were just able to keep up with them, and it became quite evident in the second game that Gonzaga had quite a obvious mismatch after they kind of really blew them out in that first quarter. So some points of emphasis. Their primary way of scoring for Gonzaga was targeting Landale, the big Australian centre for St. Mary's, in the pick and roll with either Perkins or Melson handling. Williams would bring Landale to the perimeter, set a screen, and then either Perkins or Melson would drive right past him or kick to an open shooter. Gonzaga also have a really good Japanese player called Hachimura. He's a really versatile scorer. He scored 23 points in both games, so 46 overall, which is quite an aberration considering that he only averages really 11 points a game. It was just against St. Mary's. He had quite a favourable matchup. He's quite big at 6'8", 225 pounds. He's able to post up. He's also really athletic and can drive past guards. He's a really efficient mid-range shooter as well. He shot 70% of 30 shots in both games collectively. And especially at SMU, he really embarrassed his numerical opposite in Fitzner after just posting him up constantly and then driving right past him. He scored a lot of points against him. And as I was saying before, at SMU, Gonzaga scored 24 points in the first quarter, so just in the first 10 minutes, shooting 4 of their eventual 7 threes in the first 6 minutes. So it's a really interesting matchup. We'll go to some video. So, get rid of this. So we'll just look at one particular set before we go into some Landale pick and roll stuff. This is what I just called the Tilly flare, just because that's what I saw. So come over to the perimeter, give it to Norvell. Williams give it back to him. Drive to the basket, so they're seeing that initial screen out the front. Same exact play. Doesn't work out, so they go into a second action. Williams then drives to the rim, passes off to Hachimura, who really lives on that left perimeter and is really good at driving down the baseline for easy dunks. He does that quite often, and he does there as well. So now obviously into some Landale pick and rolls. Now in this first clip, they try and set 3 different pick and rolls. So there's one with Williams and Perkins. Now we've got Melson. Williams comes to set another one, tries to switch him on. Doesn't work again, so he hits out back to Norvell. Out comes Williams again. And this time he does get it. Not able to keep up Landale, so he just gives up an easy layup. So that first clip, they set 3 pick and rolls in a row, really shows the intent of Gonzaga, and that's what they're going to do for both matchups in both games. You'll notice that a lot of these clips are from the first game, just because we're going to analyze both games just a little bit differently. There are a couple of clips from that second game, but the majority of these will be from this first game in Gonzaga. So again, Williams coming down the floor, sets the screen, able to drive right past Landale again. Perkins with the ball handle is able to kick to a shooter after the defense compensates for that rolling in Williams. Another pick. Again, defense compensates, swing around the perimeter, open 3-point shot. The rear clips in St. Mary's. Williams gets another pick. This time he rolls to the basket for the alley-oop. Now, the real kind of what they're really trying to do, Gonzaga, they're really trying to pull Landale from the perimeter. He does block a lot of shots, as we'll see at the end of this video. Here Gonzaga get him off the switch. Williams is able to lay up over someone a lot smaller than him. So they're really trying to create a situation where Landau is away from the basket because he will block shots, and they're trying to isolate. And in this set, they're really trying to isolate Hachimura under the basket in a mismatch where he can get an easy layup without fear of getting a blocked shot. So this particular set, they get it. Landau is still in the paint, but he still has to mark another Gonzaga player, and Hachimura is able to back the St. Mary's player down and get an easy layup. Got the exact same set here. Swing around the perimeter. Hachimura again isolated under the basket, is able to get a layup and an and one. Really trying to emphasize that point of trying to get Landau removed from the basket. There's another set they did. Landau is out on the perimeter with Williams, the ball handle, gives it to Hachimura in the post. If we just come back, we'll replay this last one again. So Williams collects the ball on the perimeter, and this brings Landau out. Number 33 of Gonzaga, I forget his name, comes out, lobs it over to Hachimura. Now when he gets the ball at this point, Landau isn't able to recover in time. Hachimura is able to get the lay-in. So coming to Hachimura, as I was saying in these points of emphasis, he's a really versatile scorer because of his body size and his athleticism. He can score in multiple ways. So as I was saying, he averages on the season only 11 points per game. He does have the highest usage rate in the team at 25%ish really. And he comes off the bench as well, which also makes it quite impressive. Plays starters minutes, but comes off the bench. But in this game particularly, he scores in multiple different ways. As well as you just saw in those last couple of videos, he scored underneath the post. Same here, same clip. So again, scores underneath the post. Again, at this game, he scored 23 points, 34% usage rate. He's under the post. He's still strong enough to drive. Here's a set that they ran a couple times on either side. Takes a while to develop, but they do get there. Again, it's sort of a pick. Perkins always gets a screen set for him, lays it back off to Hachimura, who drives to the basket. Again, this play takes a while to develop, but again, it's the same concept. Here comes Hachimura, coming around the corner, drives down the lane, and gets the layup. He was also quite good at pick and pops. He'll come set a screen for Perkins, click the ball. I feel like every time he scored, just watching the game in real time, he seemed to have always scored like in the mid-range on one of the elbows. This seems like what he did. Simon gets the ball again for Perkins, tries to beat a man off the dribble and does. Likes to shoot off his right hand. And then he has his jumpers. As I said, every time I saw him shoot, it felt like he was shooting from the elbow. He really does love a mid-range jumper, which is very un-2017, but just something I like to do. So again, Williams, Perkins screen. Collects it from Perkins. You'll see that these plays are very similar from the last one. Gets it in. So Hachimura, very active player, very versatile player. Very hard to guard as you have to guard him on the perimeter. Off pick and rolls, you have to guard him. Off screens, you have to guard him. He drives down the lane, you have to guard him in the post as well. So very difficult person to defend. Rare St. Mary's clip. Again, screened by Williams. Hachimura around the corner. Exact same play as the last one, and he gets it in. And then in the St. Mary's game, in that last game in Gonzaga, Hachimura was getting guarded by several different players. However, in this game, he was getting guarded by his numerical opposite in number 21, Fitzner. And again, he scored 23 points off 30% usage rate. So he just really embarrassed Fitzner on multiple occasions. Here, again, it's a very versatile way he can score. This time he backs someone down. Uses his left hand this time, but lays it in. Again, getting marked by 21. Right hand coming around. Couple of drives. Beats him off the dribble. Lays it in. And the one. Williams, Perkins screen again. No. lays it off to him, gets it, drives, Hachimura gets it in. So in the second game, getting marked by Fitz, and it didn't work, scored all the time. Now again in this St. Mary's game, as we're talking about, they scored four of their threes in the first 6 minutes of their eventual 7-3, so they didn't shoot that well afterwards, but it's just in this first kind of 10 minutes that they really blitzed them. So this is their first play of the game. They scored threes in a variety of ways, not off the same set. Here we've got a bit of a down screen. So Perkins gets the down screen off Williams, shoots a contested three but gets it in. You'll notice that a lot of these actually shots are well defended. Here they did a couple of pick and rolls targeting 0-0 of St. Mary's. So I'm just going to replay that one. We'll go back to the site, there we go. And they ran this play twice with number 33 of Gonzaga setting the screen, and Melson shoots it in there. Same play but with Perkins targeting 0-0. He kicks it out, well defended again, but still gets the three. I forgot who it might have been, Norval. So St. Mary's defense, they went over as a rule screens, and they would have kind of on pick and rolls, they'd have Landau kind of back. He wouldn't try and attack the ball handler, he would just kind of try and retreat as fast as possible. They wouldn't really have any help with all the other players kind of guarding three-point shooters around the perimeter, as Gonzaga have quite a few good three-point shooters. This is the first play of the first game. So they don't go over the screen here, but they'll go over this one. Landau is going to back off if I just, tap through. No help defense. They're all kind of trying to guard the perimeter shooters, and they've done actually a good job of guarding this pick and roll anyway, so the Gonzaga player continues under the basket. Again, over the screen, back away. Landau on the perimeter, not good. But they get, it goes out eventually anyway. They had Landau guarding Williams the whole game, really. Nothing too particularly exciting in the defensive, player-on-player matchups. Get over the screen, causing a contested shot. They get the defensive rebound. As I was saying before, that Landau, the reason Gonzaga wanted him out on the perimeter all the time, or trying to remove him from that, trying to remove him on the rim, is because he is such a good post defender. All those Hachimura clips you saw of him backing down players, it was never him backing down Landau. He has the best defensive win shares and defensive box plus minus in the team. It's because of reasons like that. He's a really good post defender there. Williams tries to post him up to no avail. Williams and Landau had really good contests in both games. It's really difficult to tell who won that matchup, as they both got buckets over each other, and they both defended each other quite well as well, but those two occasions Landau got the best of Williams. And also just blocks. They had a lot of blocks in the two games. Landau blocks 1.1 blocks per game. He had 6 blocks against the Zags in both games collectively, so above his usual. And this is just basically a block compilation. He's really good under the basket. That's why you want Gonzaga trying to remove him from that area. They've also got other good block shotters, so Fitzner does a really good job there. And they have another Australian, number 10, who I forget the name of, who's also a really good shot blocker. But, you're never going to score points like that of him just, lumbering over you. So they try and bring him to the rim. Now he retreats back. Hachimura tries to drive, so I'm just going to repeat that one. As we see, this is a very popular Gonzaga player as we were playing before. With the, screen, have Hachimura come around the corner, tries to dunk it over Landau to absolutely no effect whatsoever. Again, screened by Williams, and block and steal and all kinds of stuff, so it doesn't work. So he's a really good under the basket player. That's why they're trying to take him to the perimeter. So just to summarize, Gonzaga, really good pick and roll attack targeting Landau, because as we've just seen from his last 2 clips, they're trying to take him away from the rim, where he's a really good defender. They really targeted him with Perkins and Nelson, with Williams setting the screens. And then Hachimura was a significant scorer in both games through versatile attacks. He posted up, he drove, he set pick and pops, he shot lots of elbow jumpers. And in the second game, he really targeted Fitzner at St Mary's and scored a lot of points the same way. So really interesting games. Gonzaga won the second one just because of a blast of threes at the start and then cruising. But yeah, see you in the next video, which will be the opposite, St Mary's offense and Gonzaga defense.